Let's go! Who's up next?
Welcome, Internet, to the Xbox Empire podcast, part of the Play Some Video Games Network of podcasts. I'm Elaine. Donnie's here. It's party time, y'all. You are wearing is it a red shirt or an orange shirt?
It's red, yeah, but it looks orange in the webcam. I noticed that earlier when I was one of my extra work shirts.
Hey, girl, this shirt looks orange in my webcam. Like,
yeah.
This webcam makes my shirt look orange.
Webcam's like cool. It has like a cool filter on it. Everything's a little cooler than normal.
Not to be confused with sweet, awesome, sick, or rad,
it's
guys.
Definitely
he
not
means
cool.
Temperature cool, like in color terms, like bluish. More blue.
Yeah.
As opposed
I'm
to
blue. If I was
I'm
green,
not going to do it. I'm not going to sing it.
I would die.
I'm not. God damn it. I'm mad now. He's blue.
Hi,
I'm
Lane.
mad. Hey, Donnie. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
It's been a week, man, and it's only Wednesday. Yeah, kind of.
I'm sorry.
It's like...
It sucks.
Life is kind of nonsense sometimes.
Is there vodka in that juice?
No, I don't drink. Remember? I'm boring.
We're going to get to that,
though. There's seltzer and orange juice in that glass. It's a giant glass of seltzer and orange juice in a stemless wine glass because I don't drink wine anymore, so I drink everything else out of them. I love
making mixed drinks in those glasses.
Mm-hmm.
The girls have figured it out.
They're huge.
They're fantastic.
That's why. They're big. They fit. Meanwhile, you're sipping out of this tiny glass like a fool. Look at that.
My wife hates it because my alcohol to soda ratio is about 50-50.
That's pretty, all right.
And she's like, that's ridiculous.
I mean,
in her mind, I think she thinks it's like 90-10, and I'm like,
oh, that's not right. It's more like 1-4.
See, I go 50-50 because I put ice in, and the ice is going to dilute it.
I don't. When I was still drinking, that's about there. Yeah, and also it depends. Are you using regular soda or diet soda?
Diet soda.
Okay, so I feel like you got to go a little heavier on the soda for me in that
soda
scenario.
For me is just for the carbonation. It could be anything.
Oh,
I often will drink. I'll drink clear rum with tonic water. But I'm also weird. I'll drink tonic water just because, like, just on my own by itself.
That's weird.
Yeah,
you'll never get the malaria.
I get that
chugging.
I get that a lot. People are like, just tonic water?
I get it enough for seltzer water because people think it tastes like aluminum can. I love seltzer water. I think those people are wrong.
I went to the doctor last week, and they told me how terrible my heart was and everything. I was drinking a Topo Chico. And my doctor has never heard of such a thing.
What?
And she looked at me, and she goes, you need to stop drinking those.
It's water with bubbles.
Why? And she goes, these energy drinks are terrible for you. I was like,
oh my God.
It's Topo Chico. And she goes, Chico, what? Like it totally threw her for, and then she started yelling at the other people in the office. She's like, he's drinking a cappuccino.
I feel like Atlanta is broken. I feel like Atlanta, the whole state of Texas right now and California are freaking out because they just live on that stuff.
It's sparkling
water. It's mineral water with
bubbles. And she's like, that's all it is? I was like, and it's the best. It is the best.
Glass bottle. Glass bottle.
So good.
For those uninitiated, glass bottle, 3 flavors, original, lime, and grapefruit. I like the lime the best. Grapefruit's also pretty okay.
I like them all. Any one of them is better than none of them.
It is the best tasting seltzer water probably on the planet.
Yeah,
there's nothing better than it.
My blood pressure's high, my weight's too heavy, and I realized I need to lose weight and work out more. And I told her, I said, look, I cut out coffee.
What?
And I'm drinking like water instead of soda. I was like, I'm working on it.
It's pretty good.
Started. She's like, you need to cut out alcohol. I was like, now we need to have a talk. Okay?
So
you're pushing your luck here, lady.
When I went to the doctor, we're gonna have old people talk, y'all. Get ready, buckle up. We're gonna have the geriatric hour on this podcast.
Where's Dev when we need him, right?
Yeah, right. Everybody's stretching, crack your knuckles, crack your joints, move the fluids around. When I last went about a year ago, before the pandemic, it was right before the pandemic, so a year and a half ago. My doctor was just like, your good cholesterol is low. You should stop drinking. Well, I haven't drank in 4 years. Oh, well, you should exercise every day. Yeah, that I do. About
Yeah, I do
60
that a
minutes,
lot.
doc. And he just stared at me, and I was like, dude, it's genetic. You're going to have to accept that my mom
Did I
also
tell you
has
the
this
story
problem.
about the genetics doctor that I saw?
No.
I've definitely told
Maybe?
the story. Look, I'm
Look.
having like a self-crisis with the podcasting thing.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel like I haven't podcasted in a while, and it's just
But
a week ago we spoke.
But it was 6 days. Didn't you
But
do Shaq?
I had so much
Yeah.
happened to me since like Friday.
Right? Yeah.
That feels like a long time since I podcasted. But in those days when I wasn't podcasting, but not podcasting, I wasn't plugged in. I don't know anything about what we're talking
You've
about.
been offline. It's going to be
got
fun
nothing.
today.
I got
It's going to be
nothing.
great. It's going to be a
And I
party.
kind of was like enjoying like this
Yeah.
connection, right? And I was just like, man, like in that nasty little thought starts to swirl in the back of your head. You're like, if I didn't do this, it would be like
Would
this
I be happier?
all the time.
Yeah. But you realize you can't stay away from it because you were arguing in Discord today. So
I was tired of work today. Discord is my anyway.
Yep.
I went to a doctor once, and this was years ago before I gained weight and everything, and I told her, I was drinking everything, and my wife was going up. My wife is Dr. Mom.
Oh, yes.
She goes to the doctor with a list of things, and she's already researched it all, and she knows the medications that I need, and she tells the doctor what to do. So she's going on and on and on, and the doctor looked at her, and because she was going on like how much, she's like, he eats pepperoni all the time, right?
I
like
love
she's
pepperoni.
going
So do
on.
I.
And the doctor looks at her and she goes, look, yeah, if he stopped drinking, it'd be great. Yeah, if he stopped eating red meat, it'd be great. She's like, he still might die at 54.
Yeah.
She's like,
right?
it's genetics. She's like, you can eat every salad and run every day. And she's like, and you still might screw the pooch.
Or you get hit by a bus, right? Like there's
Well,
like
it wasn't even that, like not even random. She was like, look, your dad died, your mom died, like your aunt's died, all your grandparents are dead. She's like, it doesn't like look great for you.
That's why my doctor is so up my butt, because it's like history of heart disease, history of diabetes, mostly self-inflicted. There's a reason I exercise so much, kids, and it's not just because vanity. Like I don't care about that so much as like living.
Though you
till my
do
kids
look, like when you flex and you get the
I have the little baby muscles, but like, and it looks good. But the real reason is, look, kids, I can wear a tank top. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it. But I'd like to live till my kids are grown, and the cards are stacked against the deck. So if I don't keep my weight down, then
Yeah, that's what I'm running into. I gotta start running. But yeah, anyway, I laughed at my wife in the face because it was just when we left, she was like, "We're getting a new doctor." Like she just.
The doc took her straight out. I had plans, doc, and you thwarted them. Oh, it's so good.
I was like, well, I'm gonna just keep eating subs then.
The salt is good. Look, this is the Xbox Geriatric Podcast now. So you have not been playing video games, I'm going to guess. You've been busy.
Tornadoes.
You had tornadoes. It's been a crap show down there.
Yeah,
we had 2 touchdowns.
We had to work. We had 2 touchdowns in my county.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it was balling out of control from a weather point of view.
Yeah, we've been doing that. My wife's family, her grandma has come in.
Oh.
So we've been like back and forth to the in-laws mountain and all that. So it's just been very, very disconnected. Yeah. I haven't touched my Xbox at all.
It's crying, Donnie. Can't you hear it?
I bought a new car.
Yeah, you did.
And
Sick car.
So I was test driving lots of cars and moving them around. And I know people don't hear about me buying a car, so I'll spare them that. But like, yeah, I just haven't touched my Xbox with the exception today because of the news.
Oh.
I did boot up something, but I'll save it. For when we
get to the news, because there's a news story. I will briefly touch on the fact that I am still playing Nier Replicant, and it's still good if you like weird Japanese video games.
We were talking about do you want a save button?
Are you talking about for Returnal? Because for Returnal,
I'm sorry, you said Nier. Yeah.
Well, Nier has a save. No, it's fine.
I looked at your thing and I saw.
I put them in the wrong order, but I'm hitting the one that's actually out on Xbox
should be more
first.
present.
No, you're good.
You put it on the teleprompter. And I just took it as
he just reads it, kids. Don't worry. No, I was getting Nier out of the way first because there's not much more to say about that game except I still like it, but I'm still playing it. And I also bought Returnal because I like to be a part of the conversation and the zeitgeist, and I love me a roguelite. Oh boy, do I love them. And I've said
going all the way to the end and dying and starting all over again.
I don't know what it is about the
just
cycle.
That self-masochistic punishment just does it for you, huh?
Well, now you know personal things about me, Donnie. Jeez. Kids, calm down. It's a family show. Kind of. Not really.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I like the loop of improvement that I get out of a good roguelike. Like Hades, The Binding of Isaac, they're two examples. And while they have progression, that's kind of, it's not like you unlock items in those kinds of games. Right. And this is the same way. This game works very similar. But
like a permanent ability.
The progress for me in games like this is getting good at it. And understanding the flow and the mechanics. Like I said out loud to no one in my basement last night, I think I understand the visual language of this game finally. Like I think I'm feeling the flow now.
Yeah.
I'm still bad.
Got it.
I understand what it's trying to tell me. Now I have to get good at actually executing on what it's asking for.
Sure.
I mean, it's a house marquee game. It's coming at you. It's difficult. And the conversation around that game has become about the save structure or lack thereof. So basically, in most modern roguelites, there is a state at which you can quit the game and it will hold your position in the run in some way. So the Binding of Isaac would do it where it would restart you on the floor you were on. Hades holds your spot down to the room on an autosave. This one does.
On a save? No, every time I died, I had to go all the way back to the beginning.
No. What I mean is if you suspend the game or shut the gate, close the software, and you're in the middle of a run in Hades, it will hold your position in the run. Eternal does not do that. You're playing a run to the end, and you're putting your PS5 in suspend and praying that no one closes the software.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bit of an oversight on their part. I think that it's time to get modern with like how these games...
Are you team save button?
I'm team hold my run position, at least restarting me in the room or letting me have it. It's a very heavy discourse.
A wide debate on this is whether or not they should add some sort of something.
I think they should, because these games have evolved to a place where most of them have it now. Like I cannot actually think of a roguelike or roguelite that does not have some sort of save-like functionality. Like Binding of Isaac would do the thing where if you quit the software in the middle of a run, you would restart floor you were just on. Stuff like that. I think that at a minimum, like letting me find a safe chamber and then holding the position is probably the right way to handle it. I mean, these things can get long, dude.
Definitely.
Even 45 minutes is a long time to ask from a person who has like kids.
In one play session.
Yeah, like sometimes
let alone hours.
Right.
So I was prodding our Returnal fans in the Discord today about this very topic. Not to turn this into a PlayStation show.
And we're going to talk about this game because it's hot right now.
I thought it was interesting because there's some people that very strongly believe that there shouldn't be anything there. And when I first heard that, my impression was like an achievement level. Like it's meant to be hard. That is part of the difficulty, and they want you to accomplish that. Like a Dark Souls. Like that in my head, I was like, okay, sure. I hear that. And I asked them that, and all of them said, that has nothing to do with it. Which kind of threw me for a loop because they were like, well, this is what the developer wants. And I'm like, okay, but this is what the customer wants.
Yeah, and I think the conversation that starts, this is what the developer wants, feels like the developer wasn't paying attention to the current state of things because we're no longer in the place where you have to finish the run.
Well, the thing that I think is really... The thing that I think makes this really a moot point is that you can say that this is what the developer wants, but by them putting it in there, it doesn't stop you from enjoying it the other way. Like you could just choose not to do it. You'd be like, you know what? The developer, like how smart could be like, look, we're putting in a save button. We would prefer you'd play the game not like it was intended not to be played with it. And purists or fans could just play that way. But it's not hindering anybody to do it the other way.
The save button is an even more like silly conversation than like the difficulty in Dark Souls, because the difficulty in Dark Souls, the argument is, kick down the difficulty changes the developer's vision. The save button does not change the challenge of a run.
Yeah, because you're right.
Just
because
puts
in Dark
it on
Souls,
pause.
You still have to be good. Like the save button doesn't stop you from you still have to dodge and block and parry at the right time or you're dead.
This game is the same way. Just because I can hold my spot in one of the chambers that's a safe chamber doesn't make the rest of the run change. It doesn't give me some sort of advantage. I still have to be good enough. It just lets me pee without worrying about my PlayStation restarting. Nice. That's all it does,
So personally, I don't like games like this.
This is not your genre.
Nope.
First of all.
And when I played Hades, I was one of those people.
Yeah, sure.
That I wished I had a checkpoint.
You do in Hades. You can quit Hades.
Well,
And-
no, you could suspend, but I didn't like that. I got on one really good run, and I think I went 3 or 4 bosses in.
Oh, you want to be able
died,
to...
went all
Okay.
the way back. I was like, I can't just pick up where I left off and still.
That's
be
a separate
randomized. I gotta
conversation.
do it all the way over again. So
That's
like,
a
I
separate
am that.
conversation.
I'm that gamer that's like bend to my will. And if your answer to me is this game isn't for you, like Hades wasn't, I'm okay with that. That's why I'm never going to play Returnal. Like, I'm okay with a game existing that it's just not for me. Like, I'm fine with that.
I think this genre is just not for you because
Yeah,
there's 2 conversations
totally.
to have. There's 2 conversations. There is, you want a save status that lets you reload it upon death and try again from that point. I just want my run to be held when the software is closed.
Yeah.
And if I lose at the end, I lose at the end. And who cares?
And on
I don't care.
PlayStation, you can suspend it, right? You can put
But if
PlayStation
the
rest
game
mode.
If the game patches automatically, it
So once
throws
you
away
like go
your run.
offline, that was the other thing I brought up.
You
like,
can
just
do
go
that, but
offline.
why is this so hard? Why does this have to be so hard?
Well, I also
know?
was under the impression that you could suspend multiple games on PlayStation today, and apparently you can't.
No, you
Like,
cannot.
I was sure of that. I was like, I've done that, and apparently
cannot.
no.
No.
You haven't.
And so if someone else in your house uses the console, or you just like
That's
the
a
power goes out, like it's just kind of a bummer.
That's
and
a bummer.
Is
You know
it the
what
end of the world?
The answer
It's
to
not.
this is PlayStation letting you suspend like 3 games at a time.
But we've seen quick save fail.
But here's
That's or quick resume. That can still
right,
happen.
But like,
you know,
that's the whole point, right? There's super powered SSD that's faster than the speed of light.
sure. The real
Why can I suspend multiple games on Xbox but not PlayStation? Their SSD's twice as good.
The real solution is for Housemarque to just let the run hold in a position when
Some
the
sort
software
of
is closed.
state.
Yeah, just like Hades does, Isaac does.
What if
every
you
other
gave
one.
everybody like one? Like,
That's
if
an
you
interesting
died and you
concept.
could like come back one time and that's it.
That's an item in this game. You can buy that item to do that.
That works.
That item exists, but
Well,
it doesn't.
We made jokes about it. DLC save
Yeah.
button.
Save button.
Microtransaction save button. Give me $2 for save button.
I think that Housemarque will eventually bend on allowing the software to be closed and suspend the run for you. I think that eventually they're going to hear enough people being like, come on, dude, every other roguelike does that. Come on.
It's an interesting debate because, like I said, I'm perfectly fine with the game just not being for me. But I will say this. I would have finished Hades if I could have saved it.
If you could have saved it,
And
sure.
if I could play Returnal and know that, like, if I die, like, I don't have to start all over and redo all of my progress, I would play it. I would buy it and play it. So
That's
in that regard, like, and even if they were like, look, you can do it this way. This is the easy way, but you don't get trophies. Totally
That's
fine with
fair.
that.
That's
it's like,
interesting.
I'm good. Like, that's fine with me because I just really care about, like, kind of enjoying the game. But with me, with these games, the reason that I never get into them, the reason I'm not even going to try anymore, is in my head, I'm going to get 8 stages deep and die.
And then die. Well, that to me is like,
And then
the
I feel
risk
like
reward.
I've wasted
I see.
3 hours of my time.
Totally understand. Like, we're having 2 separate conversations about
I know.
saves. You know what I mean? But as a genre, I think if they allow you to pinpoint your run and then reload that, it's a genre defining trait to roll the risk reward dice.
Yeah,
you know?
because
And I think
get the tense. You
Yeah,
get the
that's what makes it
anxiety
good.
of
Oh,
you've
I
got
love
so
that.
much on the line.
yes, and
So what I brought it up today is I was comparing it to Fire Emblem, which I love.
mhm,
I
mhm.
never play with permadeath on. I can't handle it. Like, that's not for me.
Sure.
And I would be upset if Fire Emblem was like, you have to.
Totally,
That
totally,
would,
totally.
That would
totally,
break
totally.
my heart because, like, I feel like I'm being kept out of enjoying it. And
Yes.
I'm just saying, as somebody, right, as somebody who doesn't like this type of stuff, I kind of
Yes.
feel like that. Like, I'm not allowed to, and that's fine. Not everything can be for me.
That's okay.
I just feel like something so trivial as that
I know.
could allow us all to enjoy a game, and that's a good thing.
And there's a lot of that same argument in the Dark Souls conversation of give us an easy difficulty or give us handicap options. And that's the same conversation, and we've had those in like circles.
Yeah.
And I think that, I will say as a general thought on this concept, something that allows someone else to enjoy the game should not ruin your enjoyment for the way you choose to play it. This applies to difficulty in video games. I don't want to hear, I play games on easy all the time. People are
I
like,
feel
oh,
like
you're not.
that was kind of floating around in the Discord. It was like,
Yeah,
they shouldn't
that's-
be allowed to do it. It's like,
Some
is
people feel strongly about that.
right, but
And
like, its existence is literally not changing how Dev plays Returnal at all.
Sure. I agree generally with that statement. I agree with it with Dark Souls difficulty. I agree with it because I agree on making games more accessible to as many people. It's like there are people with accessibility issues where a difficulty slider or tweaks helps them to be able to play games that we can easily play with two hands on.
Or even just enjoy it more.
Exactly. And I'm generally all for the general statement of something that allows someone else to enjoy the game does not have to hamper your enjoyment of playing it whatever way you feel is the right way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so if you wanted to play Sekiro and it's too hard and you're on an accessibility controller and you just can't make that game go, they should have a difficulty slider to tweak it for you because everybody should be able to love games. Like people who have
I
those
love
issues.
The Last of Us, my favorite games.
One of my favorite
I have
never tweaks.
Ever played on that crazy difficulty. I wouldn't want to. That sounds miserable.
The Last of Us 2 is a prime example of accessibility because you pull up that menu.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got so many little
everything.
tweaks. And you could just enjoy it
They have a mode that
want.
highlights all of the collectibles.
Yeah. It's there
it's
for
like,
you
here,
to
just
play.
go find it. Here. Like, you don't even have to look for it. It's just here.
I think stuff like that is just... It should be the gold standard, and I think Bex is making this point in the chat right now as well. Like, that kind of stuff, as we move forward in time, it should be the standard, especially as we start seeing Microsoft developing these accessibility controllers for people who have disabilities. Like, we should start to see those tweaks in every video game. Let people love those games no matter their struggle. Just let people play your stuff. But as Deb was bringing up, there are
save button.
There are two conversations about Returnal. There's the conversation about roguelikes in general and being able to save runs, which is where Donnie is headed. My issue with the Returnal is just let me suspend my current run when the software is closed. And I think that is a real concern and needs to be dealt with by Housemarque. Because it's silly. Everybody else has a solution for this problem. Yeah. It's 2021.
Hey,
I'm
it's
geriatric.
2021 with this, as I said, now that Devin's here, I said it before, with that amazing SSD, you should be able to run multiple save points, at least 2. How about one more?
Now you're just starting trouble.
Is that asking for too much?
Yes. You're not allowed to ask for anything.
It's too far.
This is an Xbox podcast. We can't ask for PlayStation things. What are you talking about? But I think I will say I like Returnal, and it it gives me Metroid Prime vibes.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
It's got that solo creepy. It's got it for me, and that's what makes me keep wanting to go. And it, you know what it does? The classic roguelike thing. One more run. I could do better. One more run. I could do this better.
I feel that way with Pac-Man and Donkey Kong.
Yeah. It's like that. But for
when you die, you've got to start all over.
Yeah, kind of. So it's old games, bro.
Yeah. It's like arcade style.
I wanted to discuss that game here because, it is the zeitgeist. But don't worry, guys. We'll have Resident Evil to discuss next week.
I completely forgot that was coming out.
I'm so excited.
I bought Judgment, and I was like, I'm going to snap, and I'm going to play Judgment. And then it's like, Resident Evil's here, and it's like, I didn't even play Judgment. Like, I paid money for that game.
They'll get back to it, but the creepy castle awaits. Let's go!
Yeah,
the review scores hit for that today.
Well, I say I'm definitely playing Resident Evil, but I'm going to be away all weekend this week, and I won't play it until Monday.
I'm gonna spend all weekend getting the pee scared out of me.
Do we know how long it is? I didn't read any reviews. I
haven't
reviews anymore.
I haven't done that because I'm afraid to have something spoiled, and I haven't come into a Resident Evil game completely darked out.
Hey, chat! Can somebody let us know what the average runtime on?
Yeah, I'm curious about
Resident Evil is. I did see one impression, and they said it was weird. They're like, if you like weird Resident Evil 8 is for you. They were like, if you wanted Resident Evil 7 again, they're like, this isn't that game.
I've read some non-spoiler reviews that say it takes 7's vibe and makes it into a more 4 type of speed, and it's more actiony than 7 was, and that's fine. 7's runtime was between 10 and 15 hours on the first run.
Yeah, so 7, like some of the old Resident Evil as well, not all of them, but 7 was small. You stayed in the same place.
There were 2 or 3 locations, but that tied together, and then there was the weird one. They weren't very big either. None of them were big, but they were
complex.
They were looped together in interesting ways, and I did enjoy that.
I almost feel like Resident Evil 3 was far more complex than 7.
I would argue 2 was more complex than 7.
I think both of them are way more complex than 7.
3 was a pretty stripped down version of 2.
But remember, 3, you at least had to Like you had to go down in the sewers and you had to like pump the water and go
Yeah.
back and forth and come back out. Like there was a lot kind of to that, just like its environment, like its setting.
Yeah.
You had the street, you had the store, you had the police station, you had the sewers. Like there was a lot there. Like in 7, it is literally like the house. Like you're just in the house.
It's the house, the basement, back to the house, the other house,
Right.
And then the mines.
But it's
is the
all
way
like
that it
on the
loops together.
same
Generally, until you get to the
lot
mines.
of land. Right?
Yeah, until you get to the mines at the end.
Yeah.
But
I like that. It felt
I did too,
dense.
because it felt like one
Yeah.
all over again.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It did feel like one.
And it had that same vibe. So I'm very excited. The video game
Whereas
comes this
4
Friday.
was like a journey. 4 goes.
So I
places.
think that's what what
Yeah.
I've read about 8
That's
says.
what I was
It's
going to
gonna
say.
be like
8
4.
feels like 4.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yep.
Except I can move and shoot at the same time. So
I'm excited.
Let's go.
Was it 4K 60? No, it's not. It is 4K 60. Ray tracing is 45 frames.
yeah, ray tracing knocks the frame rate down.
That's weird.
I'm just not going to turn it on.
Yeah, neither am I.
I want my 60 frames.
Mm-hmm.
I want to shoot whatever the hell we're calling zombies in this video game in 60 frames.
Yeah,
So
Lady Dimitros. So
look, I got a
how do you
hot
say
lady to
her
chase.
name?
I don't know.
I saw a
don't speak
pronunciation was
French.
like Demetresque, and I was
Well,
like,
'cause
that
it's-
doesn't look
it's-
like that at all.
It's French.
I know it still didn't look like that at all.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. You're absolutely killing me. All right, we've discussed our media and events for the week. We've discussed our geriatric age. Let's talk about news. We don't forget the geriatric hour at the top of the
Hit me
podcast.
with the news. Tell me what's going on, because
So there's a lot of stuff going on. Let's start
Mm-hmm.
with this rumor that I thought was really interesting. There's a report that suggests that perhaps the Hitman
I wonder why you
developer-
thought it was so interesting.
Oh, for a number of reasons. One of my favorite developers, the Hitman devs, IO,
Yeah,
may be working on a fantasy RPG.
yeah.
I'm sorry, my computer is very upset with me right now.
Well, I
There we go.
remember this because Jez has been teasing this for a while. So Jez has
Yes.
been teasing a few games with emojis. One of them is a cyclone that nobody knows what it is, and it's
Right.
pissed me off to the point that I've like let Jeff have it. I'm like, will you guys just freaking tell us? Like,
Yeah,
I thought
stop.
the reason we were in the Patreon is so we wouldn't have to connect all these damn dots.
It's to know things. You're
It's like
supposed
the
to
Da
know me
Vinci
things.
Code over there. They've got all these symbols and hieroglyphics, and we're supposed to go back through the annuals of time and figure it out. It's like I'm saying all this in jest, obviously, but
He doesn't mean this, kids. He doesn't mean this.
when this was happening in Jeff's Discord, I literally said, when somebody figures it out, ping me.
Ping me.
I
Yeah.
don't have any effort or energy for this right now.
So the way this story works out is that Jez said he's received information from both Microsoft and IO, that Microsoft and IO are in discussions surrounding this fantasy RPG, which is codenamed Project Dragon, which is a stupid codename.
He's
What
been
are you
using the little dragon emoji
The little dragon.
to
yeah.
reference it, and it's far away.
It is far away.
At best, it's pre-production.
It's very, very early. They have no idea what gameplay is really
It's
going to
like
look like.
concept.
But, quote, what's on paper thus far sounds incredibly ambitious and represents a completely new direction for IO. Like, no crap. It's a new direction. It's not Hitman.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not Hitman.
That seems obvious to me to say
Didn't
that.
Jeff
seems
say
silly.
that this is like a second team too? It's
I
like a
don't know.
spin-off team that would
That would make sense. They have grown to a
because they're
point.
doing Bond. Like
I
the
hope they're-
Hitman team, the main team, they're doing GoldenEye.
That's all I really want.
Yeah, they're doing
That's
that.
what I
so
really
this
want.
is like a secondary thing.
I think IO makes good games, and I think
Yeah,
that they
they
put
do.
a lot of thought into how their games are
They
constructed.
definitely make good games.
They make video games. They are built to be broken, and it's fun. And I kind of hope this feels different. I kind of hope it's like, but I want their flair. I want their attention to
I think
detail.
it's interesting because like we've got Elder Scrolls,
Mm-hmm.
Avowed, and then potentially an IO fantasy-based game about dragons.
Let's go.
I know. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, give me all of them. I want them all. But just to be devil's advocate, do you
How
think
dare
it
you.
might be a little too samey?
Maybe. I trust that whatever IO chooses to tackle will be unique, feel unique,
Completely
because I don't think
different from Elder Scrolls, right? Like that. I
yeah.
think that's the right answer. It's like these aren't going to be the same thing at all.
I think when they choose to tackle a game, their attention to detail, even to the absurd, is very, very good. Like they let me pick up blueberry muffins in a in a suburban house and throw them at people.
Do
Like,
they dare
they-
call it Scalebound?
No, don't call
would be
anything Scalebound
amazing.
ever again. You can't do that. Don't revive
Just
that
be
name.
super petty about it.
I hope that it's announced as Scalebound.
Scalebound, but it's 2 words.
And they're both spelled wrong. They're both spelled with like umlauts over
Like
them
a
or
K?
something. Yeah. Is that Scalbound or what? Scalbond. Scalbond. It's Scalbond, kids.
Bound by scales.
Oh, it's bound by scales. Just a little tube of scales around the Hitman guy and him giving the thumbs up. Like, come
really good.
on. I would like to see what they're doing. I think that IO makes great games, so more games from IO is always good to me. That's how I feel about that. Let's talk about the Coalition.
Ooh, now we're
Talk to me about this.
Okay, so Jeff Grubb
Of
did
course. Friend of
his
the
little Game Mess Live. And if you don't watch these are like these impromptu streams that he does on Twitch where he just runs through some stuff. And he mentioned, quoting the Honorable Jeff Grubb, the Gears studio, the Coalition, is busy. They're working on Halo. They're helping with Halo Infinite. It's awesome.
I didn't know. That seems like big news to me.
Oh, no.
No?
Really?
Because it seems like the kind of news where you're like, what kind of state was that video game in?
Well, I feel like when this was delayed a year ago, I think the first thing I said was Halo is an all hands on deck situation.
I just didn't expect these hands on that deck.
It's literally everybody. Like, you just grab somebody. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Now you're doing Halo. Like, until this game ships.
For some reason, the confluence of the Coalition together with Halo blew my mind open. Like, I just didn't. I figured they're busy. This is not their area of expertise, and maybe they borderline think of it as competition to them in their brains. And so my brain just didn't connect those dots. And I went, what?
Makes
Are
sense.
you sure? You know? I don't know. Anyway, continue.
So they said they're working on Halo Infinite. One of the big projects they're working on. He said the Coalition is, of course, working on Gears. Of course, they're going to do that. And he says, but the Coalition is also working on a third thing, and it's a new IP. Quote, I've heard rumors. It could be a Star Wars thing, but I haven't been able to confirm these rumors and have knocked around a few places, so it's hard to track down. So I'm not putting any money on that yet. But the Coalition is working on a third thing, so we'll see what it turns into.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I want Republic Commando. I
don't.
want new
See, I'm going
Republic.
to take the opposite. I'm glad you're here for this. I am ecstatic that the Coalition is working on something that is not Gears.
But you don't want it to be Star Wars?
Do not want it to be Star Wars at all.
What's your beef with Star
They need a
Wars?
secondary. There's enough Star Wars. We don't have a lack of freaking Star Wars games.
We have a lot of rumored Star Wars games
I know,
and a bunch of
there's
Star
so
Wars
many.
games that have
We
been
just
mediocre.
got the damn Jedi lightsaber thing from Respawn. Everybody likes it. We just got Asper doing Republic Commando. They're doing the KOTOR. It's like, how much damn lightsaber pew pew games do you need?
I don't
They just had the Starship Fighter, whatever.
Here is my thing about this. It is the reason Republic Commando jumps right into my head is, one, that never felt like a Star Wars game. It felt like a great squad shooter, and that is what Coalition does
just
so well.
Gears skin to Star Wars. I don't want that.
Ooh, I think that's largely unfair.
The Coalition is an amazing studio.
What have they made besides Gears?
But the Gears that they've made are so good.
But here's my thing. The Gears that they've made are so good, so anything you get from them potentially could just feel like a reskin of Gears.
Right, but I want them I want them to have a second pillar. They need something else to do long term that isn't Gears.
But my question to you is, what? Because they can make a third person shooty game and they can help with a first person one. That's all we know they know how to make, right? So what are you gonna do? Make a kart racer? Like what?
I'm totally down for a kart racer.
I mean, I always like a kart racer. Oh, so you want pod racer?
I have faith that whatever the Coalition does, like you do with Hitman, with
this
IO,
is fair.
I have faith that whatever the Coalition wants to do, they should be given all the money to do it, and that they would do it well.
I would love.
I don't care what it is. We have Playground.
That's interesting.
Speedy fast car thing. Make it freaking Fable. And I have no reservations about that decision at all. Sounds great.
I'm really curious to see how some of this shakes out in like the next 2 to 3 years. I'm curious about the coalition because there's been a lot of years of third-person shooters.
They got to get away from Gears. Gears needs a break, and they need something else. And I don't want it to be a Star Wars thing because I want them to have something that they own the creativity for.
That's fair.
That's from them.
That is 100% fair. And but I think as a first-party studio, the game is different for them than it is for IO. Because they're going to get shoehorned into whatever looks like it might make the most money. So I would set your expectations carefully here, is what I'm saying to you.
Hey, and if it's Star Wars, I'll play it because I love the Coalition. But I've told you before, and we've disagreed, and I'm not saying it to make a one-to-one comparison, but I think the Coalition has proven their technical capability, that they've got chops with the best in the business. I think I've told you, Gears feels Uncharted-esque to me. It almost goes there. Lean into that. Let them have something. Give them something else to do. They could spin off a whole new trilogy of a franchise.
Maybe.
And then that puts Gears on the shelf. You know what would be great? To take 5 years off of Gears and then come back to Gears. That would be amazing.
I think they have to close 6 before they do that.
No, of course. No.
Okay, because I'm just like, dude, you can't do that.
Doing 6. But my thing that I've been talking about with this whole new trilogy is where do you go from here? And I think you need time off. Because I think when the next trilogy of Gears comes, I think it's a brand new Gears.
It has to be.
Brand new, completely different. Like you're away from Marcus and everything, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And to do that, you need time to let that kind of fester and build,
Sure.
And they need something else to do. And is it Star Wars? Do I want them working exclusively on Star Wars games?
I wonder, because when you talk about a studio like the Coalition that's been doing this in this very particular way for this long, right? When you talk about them doing something completely new, that is relearning how to make video games from their point of view. That is building new systems in an existing engine. Yeah. New mechanics, new design, new AI, new world, new everything.
But no, like their worlds are very good. Like you could totally play an action adventure game in a Gears world.
But that's not new then.
Right, and but the world and the environment of how you're playing, the story that's being told could be completely different. I mean, that's like saying Uncharted and Last of Us are the same game. They're completely different. They play a lot alike.
But they don't exist. Like, if you really want them to do something new, I don't want them to build a different story inside the Gears universe. You want a new world.
I want a new IP.
That's a lot. That's a lot to ask of a studio that's been doing something for a long time. That's a lot of time. They're ready for it. But that's going to take them a real long time.
That's a better way of putting it. They've earned it.
Potentially.
Gears 4, Gears 5, the DLC that they just released for it.
That's very good.
They're excellent. They're excellent games.
They're excellent third-person shooters.
Yeah.
And unproven at anything else. So,
but you can't prove it if you don't get the chance.
Correct, but they're also one of the hallmark first-party studios that Microsoft could use to churn out a Star Wars game that makes money. God, I'm sorry. I want to set realistic expectation of what I think could happen here.
Hear that.
But it's
I think that's when you lose talent.
I agree with you. However, there is forever going to be a money angle.
Because if you were going to look at it like that, then guess who should be making like Perfect Dark? The Coalition.
Kind of. No.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that because they don't really do the first person stuff.
I mean, that's a very minor adjustment.
I think that
from what they do.
I think if you were going to ink a big deal for a Star Wars game,
oh, of course,
this makes a lot of sense.
And so I think I would be more excited to play a Coalition produced Star Wars game
than any other Star Wars game.
Anything else that I've seen come across. Don't get me wrong. I would be very excited about this news if done well. I really want them to have another IP. I think they've earned it. I want them to have something else. Playground earned it. They got Fable.
Yes. The
Coalition's earned it. Let them do something else.
I 1000% do not disagree with you. I think there is an angle of realistic expectation.
So what do you do after? What comes after the Star Wars game? Just back to more Gears?
Yep.
You got to get off of that. Like
it's
343
a bummer.
Is the same way. They can't just do Halo. You've got to give them something else to do.
Well, they can't even seem to execute Halo now. Why do they need something else to do?
That's 343. I would make the argument they haven't earned it.
No, well, they did, and then they broke
it. Earned it. They've earned the chance.
I think the only way in which this is different from the conversation about IO is that IO can do whatever they want. They're not beholden to someone like Microsoft. You know what I mean?
Yep.
As the Coalition is. So I think that,
hey, Star Wars will sell.
and this could go either way. I could be completely wrong misreading it, and you could totally be right about this. I just feel
Jeff
like there's
might be wrong. It might not even be Star Wars.
It might not
but
be.
I mean, but Star Wars will sell. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
I realize that whatever you slap Star Wars on, it will sell millions more units.
If the Coalition made a squad-based Star Wars game, I would be pretty excited about that. And I don't like Star Wars that much. If anyone's going to do it any justice, they could.
Yeah.
You know? And make it not feel mediocre.
I'm done with the squad-based thing.
Oh, I like it. I like it when it's done by somebody who I want to play their games. And this is the only squad-based game I kind of want to play.
Back for Blood or...
I don't need that, though. I don't know.
It's we have so many of those. Do we need
do.
another one?
I like the way
Isn't
the
that what
Coalition makes
Battlefront
them.
is?
No,
don't
that's
we
different.
Have that game?
That's a Battlefield game.
But
know?
It's Star Wars, and you play with your friends, and it's online multiplayer.
Yeah, but they're not. It's not character and interaction driven. Squad-based
campaign game.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right,
yes.
you want Republic Commando.
That's what Republic Commando is.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
the one Star Wars product besides KOTOR that I've been excited about in the last 2 decades has been that game.
And to be fair, I'm coming off of playing Republic Commando on Switch, and I don't understand why everybody loves it because I don't think it's very good.
It did not hold up over time. I played it back when
I played about half of it, and I was like, people told me this is their favorite Star Wars game.
It is up there for me. KOTOR is
like,
probably my favorite.
Rogue Squadron kicks the mess out of this game.
I would argue that Republic Commando has not aged well, but the concept is sound, and I like it. So okay. I would like to see more of it. But that's when I say squad-based shooter, that's what I'm talking about. 3 to 4 characters, third person. Yeah. All right. Onward. We are at a total now of 97 games in the Xbox catalog that have FPS boost enabled. There's a big list of games. Is one of the games you played on this list?
I played Far Cry 5, one of my favorite games. I was like, let's go turn on FPS boost.
How'd you feel about that?
It's not good.
No, tell me
Don't
why.
Don't play that way because it cuts the resolution in half.
Yep, we've had this conversation.
That sucks. It's such a pretty game, and you turn all that off. I felt like I was playing with my glasses off.
What?
It's like this is awful.
What frame rate is that running at without the boost? 60? Well, that's my sweet spot personally.
I'd rather play in 4K at 30. So I have like a scale for this. Like Utopia is 4K 120. Right? That's Utopia.
Good luck.
Right, of course.
Right, good luck.
4K 60.
That's
great.
My sweet spot. That's my sweet spot. Yes.
I would rather play 4K 60 than 1080p 60.
Or 1080p 20.
I would rather play 4K 30 than 1080p 60.
Okay.
And I think that's where I differ. There are some people that are like 60 or bust, and
I want the 60. I want the 60.
My game to look good.
The upscaler on my TV does a pretty great justice with 1080p.
I have a really nice television, Elaine.
I mean, I do too.
Pretty good.
So a couple years older than yours, but
not great.
Well, was it 1080?
Yeah, 120? I don't think it. No, I looked it up afterwards, and I think the YouTuber told me it's like 876.
I don't want the resolution to ever drop below 1080. Yeah, below 1080. Below 1080, I will not do.
And this is the issue that I'm always arguing with Rebecca on Switchland, like over in Switch. It's just like when the resolutions get cut, so like we've come so far.
Yeah,
right? Like it's
true.
2021, and it's like, hey, play this game at 720 on your TV. It's like, no.
So the thing about the Switch that's slightly different for me is undocked, I'm willing to suffer it because who cares?
Because you have portability.
So that's where the discussion becomes different. When we're talking about this FPS boost. Oh, no, I don't play my Switch docked largely anymore. Unless it's Tetris. But I really struggle with any resolution on my TV below 1080. I will admit that. And I will always choose the 60 frame option that keeps me at a higher resolution as opposed to bumping to 120 and dropping res.
I don't want to say I'm always at 4K. Like 1440p 60?
Yeah, I'm fine with that
would
too.
Be better than 4K 30, I think. But you know what? I said that, and I got Far Cry 5 on my PC, and my monitor is not a 4K monitor, it's a 1440p monitor. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling Dev, like, the blurriness of the Far Cry picture, having played it so much in 4K, bothered me. As great as it ran, I was like, it just doesn't look as good.
I struggle dropping from 60 frames to 30 frames because that's where I start to notice like stuff like screen tearing more when I have less smoothing to deal with the problem. So I would always want the 60 frames. Do I need 120? No, I don't usually need 120. Will I take it if the resolution holds up? Absolutely. But that's a perfect world, and we don't live in a perfect world.
Piper says I've been playing my Series S and 720p TV in my bedroom. I mean, I do realize that some of my opinions on the performance come off rather snobby.
You are a snob.
And I can't. Here's the funny thing is you'd think that as much as I talk about it, you'd think I'd play on PC, and I don't at all.
I am deeply surprised, because I would think you would want all them frames and all that res.
I do. On my console, on my television. I think most people are still rocking a 1080p set. We have statistics that can back us up, so it's whatever. But resolution... I didn't spend $700 at the start of this gen to rock a 1080p picture. Here's the thing: it's like when I first booted it up, I tried to tell myself, Elaine, I was like, it's not so bad, and then I started to play, and I was like, it is. It is that bad.
I am okay. I want 120 frames if you can at least hold the resolution to 1440. I think 60 is all I really need.
Do you think it's asking too much? Knowing the leap forward that these consoles have, why can't we have Far Cry 5 at 4K 60?
Is that not an option? Is 4K 60?
No.
This probably
game locks in 4K. It locks at 30. If they would just patch the game to unlock the frame rate, we could have it where we want it to be.
I bet that's more work than you're saying it is on paper. There's probably something in the code that makes that a pain in the ass, and that's why it's not happening.
My computer, and I've got a 2070, my computer could run Far Cry 5 at near 4K 60. I think I could get like 4K 50. And if my computer can do that, the Xbox Series X is totally capable of doing that.
It's capable. We're not talking about what it can and can't do. We're talking about what the code of difference is between those two versions of the game that is not allowing it to happen. You know what I mean? Like, this is always going to be a development issue, and there are always shortcuts that get taken, especially at the end of generations, to squeeze the rock. And I'll bet you it's just a code issue, or it's a cost benefit.
They want to remaster it and sell it later.
Or I was going to say, or it's a return on investment issue.
Yeah. I don't want. I realize our last show I took shots at XCloud. I don't want to be the guy that like just makes all of our base feel bad. But
spoilers,
I'm going to say FPS boost has left me rather unimpressed overall. Sometimes it works really nicely.
Sometimes it's just a little checkbox to put on a screen. I agree with you.
Yeah. There's far too many games that take a hit. So here's the thing: if it stayed at original resolution and got to 60, we're totally good.
Yeah.
But when you're cutting to get there, it's like, then this isn't a feature, this is a slider. You're just doing what PC gamers do.
It's kind of interesting too, because like you could make the argument, oh, well, someone with the 1080 TV, well, then they can't support the 120 frames anyway. So it's like, who is some of these games? Who is this for? Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting conversation.
I heard Unity is great. Like you can run Unity at 60.
Yeah.
And I bet that probably runs at the same resolution that it was, because it wasn't like 4K to begin with.
I wonder if over time this gets better too. If they optimize some of the outputting, I bet you this gets better. I bet you this is
that. Was it super resolution, right?
Yeah,
Fidelity FX, baby.
Oh God, I hate it.
Let's go AMD.
I hate it so much. I bet this. I hate stupid taglines like that. I bet this improves over time, and a lot of this is laying the groundwork to get there. Like we're boosting the frames, the resolution will follow. Some of these games, especially the older ones, the boost is noticeable and it makes the game run much better.
Yeah.
There are games on this list. This should not be completely slighted because of what we were saying about Far Cry 5.
Like if you dropped, okay, for example, I want to give myself a little cover here. If the game ran originally at 1080 and you dropped to 900 to double the frame rate,
that's different.
Totally fine with that.
And there are games on this list in which that happens.
There are games on this list that run at 60 without dropping the resolution at all.
Correct.
And that's where we want to be.
Yeah, and those are older games that actually really feel much better. It really
is the older games. That's the thing. It's the old games. It's back and pack games. It's not the games from last gen.
But they're the games that you kind of want to drag up because they would look like garbage on your 4K TV otherwise. So this kind of
just isn't GTA 4 like amazing on back and pack?
There's a couple.
FPS boosts?
There's a couple that friends of mine have talked about in our other Discord that I'm in that I can't recall them off the top of my head. That is change their experience with said video game.
Hey, I didn't see this. Hang on a second.
Oh wait, there's more.
I just clicked the link and I'm looking. Yeah,
there's a link of all the. I did my job.
Dying Light runs at 60 now.
Yes.
And there's no mention of it dropping resolution, and it wasn't super great to be. I think it was 1080 to begin with.
It was 1080, and that thing had a frame rate problem. So I'm very curious about that one.
Might be excellent. I might want to revisit that soon.
You should revisit that.
I love that game, and maybe that makes it better. I've often said on our show, I'm upset that we didn't get an enhancement patch for that game. I would have loved to have replayed it the last 3 or 4 years if they had updated it to 4K 30 or 4K 60 or 1560 or whatever. I don't care, right? It's like, let's get above HD. I think it's like once you go over 1500, it's like now you're in like super HD territory for me. That's where I want to be. I want to be over 1440p at 60 frames a second. That's the goal.
Yeah, I know. I know where you want to be. I know what you want to do. I think it's also interesting, like this list, and if anybody's looking for it, you can just Google FPS boost Major Nelson because his blog has the list.
Yeah.
There's actually a checkbox of whether or not it's turned off by default on the Series X. And I think if it is, it ain't going to do what you want it to do.
If it's turned off by default, that means the game takes a hit in resolution, and that's why they turned it off by default.
So stuff like
because they assume you won't like it as much.
And so Far Cry 5 is off by default, but 4 is not. And Dying Light is not.
I played 4 with FPS boost, and it looked like Far Cry 4, and it ran smooth. And I was like, that's nice.
Hollow Knight is one that actually probably nicely benefits from being pushed to 120.
Sure.
Nice and smooth. All the Lego games probably nicely benefit from that push. Stuff like Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2 probably benefit from that push. There are games in here, like Skyrim, that benefit. So it's not that it's
I played
bad.
Oblivion with FPS boost.
Right?
And it was
and it's
awesome.
Great. Oblivion is freaking good, dude.
It was so good.
I don't want Donnie's one bad experience to have you like Mirror's Edge Catalyst is bomb.
It's
on
the
Series
only
X,
game that I would really care about.
Sure, fair.
Because in all actuality, it's like one of my favorite games from this past generation. So when I saw the news that Far Cry 5 was included,
you were excited and then bummed.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't as good.
I will say stuff like Prey and Recore strongly benefited from this feature. Prey especially feels like almost a whole new game.
Good. I don't think you can make
Recore wasn't
good.
It had problems, but it played like crap and it had problems. Now at least it doesn't play like crap.
It still has problems. It's still not very good. That's its problem.
It's a different problem, Donnie. It's a different conversation. So this conversation, notwithstanding FPS boost has value, I think it will continue to have value going forward, and especially older games, backwards compatibility titles, really benefit from this feature.
Yeah, for backwards, 100%. For backwards compatible titles, it definitely, it's good. I feel like so many folks, like every time we get a game announced, like you see the people on Twitter and the console wars and stuff, and they're like, "We've got FPS boost.
You gotta start
have?
muting that trash. You gotta get that trash off your timeline, dude. Like you don't need because my timeline does not have that trash.
So my thing about it though is like I don't feel like it's good enough to warrant you doing that. It's not necessarily that people are using it against others. It's like I'm not so impressed with it now that I think you should even be doing that. It's like it's like it's good in some cases.
It is good in some cases.
It's not like great. It's not amazing.
I kind of feel like any of these little features that you're waving your internet stuff around about for console wars purposes are never the kind of good enough to do that.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to be like,
Shut
dude, you've got to get a Series X because
you can play Oblivion in 4K.
Garden Warfare runs at 60 frames now.
Stop doing that.
It's not that big of a deal. It's not that great.
It's kind of like there's a lot of that right now, and people are looking to throw stones at them. Like,
and people are trying to find stuff.
And also there's a pandemic, and we're all bored.
Right,
so
if we're putting beans in each bean counter, like I don't necessarily think this is even a bean. It's like, yeah, it does it, but like, are you really counting on this?
No, but
it's not that big of a deal.
If we're sitting here counting beans, then we're being idiots to begin with.
Yeah.
Pick a console, play some video games. Shut your mouth.
I like it.
Come on.
I like
it, like that's where I'm at. Like
I'm with you.
Like, I am over it. Mama is mad.
Get them both.
Right? Either get them both or get none, or pick the one you want to play games on and shut up.
I was challenged this week.
Oh.
With my splurge and new car and everything.
Oh no.
I thought about selling my PlayStation to kind of offset some of that.
Donnie, you can't do that. You can't do that. Don't leave me out here alone.
I was like, if I sold it, and here I'm not gonna lie to you, it's
Donnie.
Ratchet. Ratchet's like
Ratchet. Yeah.
I was like, I really want to play Ratchet though, but in my head, I'm like, you just put all this money down. There's a quick way of recouping some of it.
No. Stop that. Stop that.
Just like this, I could get some of it back.
Stop it. You stop it. No, because Ratchet's gonna come out and you're gonna be like, the fur, my TV, and
I
you're gonna
do
need
like
it.
Ratchet. Ratchet is like
Ratchet's good
in the PlayStation landscape. Like I love Last of Us. You know, I love Infamous. I love Ratchet and Clank. Like,
Ratchet and Clank is good.
Yeah, I like Mod Nation Racers. I like Little Big Planet. Like those are kind of my games. So.
Look. You don't. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna sell it. Ratchet's gonna come out. Someone's gonna be like, you know how good this fur would look on your TV. Then you would buy another one and get mad that it took so long. Let's not do this. Let's cut it off at the knees. Don't leave me out here alone. All right. So the next couple. All right. Oh boy. Let's talk about this next story. There was a internal. All right. Well, the Epic Apple lawsuit is happening, and internal documents are getting spewed out all over the internet. People are losing their minds.
They're redacting, they're sealing. Like we've seen. I haven't been following this as much, but I'm seeing the reactions to it. So I'm like catching the highlights.
Yeah.
But there was like a slide of like apparently like 70% of Xbox games last year were delayed. They're just all redacted because they're not out yet. There's like just giant blocks of games that we don't know about.
The best part about all this is the judge being very confused about a lot of conversations about Xbox versus Xbox on PC versus, oh man,
those are really good transcripts.
I'm living for those transcripts right now. But anyway, we're going to keep this 100 because I cannot have another conversation about Epic and Apple. I'm tired. You had that conversation in the Discord today. So some of these internal documents have come out showing that Microsoft had considered, they recently announced.
Yeah, the testimony yesterday was like, yeah, we consider it, but we're not going to do that.
Well, we're not going to do it. But they recently announced that they were changing their split with game devs on the PC side.
Correct.
To 88-12 because they want to match what Epic is doing, essentially. And that just happened. They had a press release that came out to announce that. Okay?
Yeah, it was Matt Booty, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love his name.
Right?
Makes me giggle every time. Matt Booty. Every time. Sorry, Matt. So these internal documents leaked that showed that Microsoft had considered doing this on the Xbox side as well, to do an 88-12 split. And basically, yes, the testimony just came out like, nah, dude, we won't make any money if we do that.
I know you don't want to go there, but I want to.
We can go there. I
want to go there a little bit.
Let's go there a little bit. Let's have this conversation.
So the thing with this Apple Epic thing, and the reason I want to go there a little bit is I talked to Jeff about it. I was like, hey, let's chat. I need you to help me here. Because I was going to say something earlier, and I just didn't know if it was outrageous.
Okay.
So I wanted to ping him on it.
It probably was.
I don't think it was.
Oh, interesting.
So the issue with this that has me worried. I'm not a shill for Apple. They've got all the money in the world. I don't care if Epic takes more from them. Like, that's not my thing. The thing that's worried me in this, as I've gotten to learn more about it, is the potential precedent that it could set for other business markets.
If Epic
Notably,
was to win this lawsuit.
The ones that I do care about. Nintendo, and Xbox.
Microsoft. Yeah, sure.
The standard 30% cut that Epic is trying to get the judge to tell Apple to not do is so widely accepted and adopted. And I don't think gamers, I think it's real easy to see a headline, get a whiff of the story, and it's so easy to be like, yeah, Epic, take down the man. Get your money. Like
Epic is also the man, people. I want to make that very freaking clear. They made like $9 billion on one video game. Simmer your asses down.
They are also the man. But I think they're positioning themselves as like this white knight. Like we're going to
champion of the people.
The game industry. And the issue that I have with it is I don't feel, and it's not an issue. I want to be clear. I don't really have a dog in this fight. Either way, I'm honestly, I think either way I'm fine with. I just want people to be aware of the ramifications that could possibly happen should Epic win.
Well, then lawsuits start cropping up in other places for everybody else, and everything changes.
It sets a precedent, and if it gets applied to your Xbox or your PlayStation 5 or your Nintendo, then suddenly that disrupts and changes the way that these companies have and do business. And what does that mean for us, the consumer?
The prices go up.
You don't realize how much of your cost is subsidized by having you as a customer because they want that 30% 30%. The 30% is what they want. Here's the thing. Here's a secret, guys.
Don't whisper to the people. Tell them loud and proud.
They don't give a fuck if you buy the console or not. They'll give you the console. They want the 30%. That makes them so much more money than your hardware purchase.
This is why I just want to make a point. This is why throughout time, with consoles, most companies, not all, Nintendo is largely an exception to this rule. They play by different rules. Sony, Microsoft, Sega, back in the day, they make consoles and they lose money or break even on hardware.
And even Nintendo, typically,
sometimes,
especially with launch hardware, even Nintendo typically more or less breaks even.
They break
They're not
even.
Making $100 off every console that's purchased.
No. Eventually
they
do.
break even. Yeah, like with cheap stuff, like 3DS and stuff. But like that Switch Lite is sold at cost.
I don't know now. Well,
not now, but like
right.
when
At
they
launch.
were making it,
Yes.
$199 was as low as they could go on it. And that's the thing. These companies go as low as they can
on
go
the initial hardware
because they want your 30% for
the software.
5 years.
Yes,
That's where they make their money.
So
if you
what
cut
happens?
that in half,
things go up other places. That's the way that business works.
Yeah.
The money amount has to at least stay the same.
we're not
Sure.
that cost. They're not taking that cost and passing it back to publishers. We're taking that cost.
it's always the
consumers
consumer.
taking
Yes.
the cost. It's not Epic. It's us.
I just want to be clear.
I don't want that. And I think it's
No.
interesting because Epic is basically arguing that for the last 30 years, this is an unjust process. Meanwhile, for the last 30 years, Epic has made billions of dollars under this same practice.
They have made $9 billion on a single video game.
And they want
that got made in a rush to compete with another video game. They are the man, y'all. They're not fighting for the people.
Yeah, exactly. They're not fighting for the people. It's not the people that they're fighting for.
No, they could have made $18 billion.
So the crazy hot take that I was going to say, that I refrained from saying in the Discord, is I was wondering if, let's say, hypothetically,
Okay.
if
I hate it when he does this, guys.
Epic won and suddenly game revenue split as 12% as Epic would have it.
As they do in their store right now.
As they do in their store. And we don't even know if that's the number, right? I'm taking what we know and I'm
Let's
applying it.
just say they
It's
want that.
hypothetical.
Yes, let's
12%.
right.
The
Sure.
question that I asked Jeff was, do you think the ramifications of that is somebody leaves the space?
Meaning like Microsoft or Sony cashes out.
They're done. Like they're like at 12%, we're not making enough money to warrant to do this. Because I already think the gaming business is so like
it's
dense
teetering
with
on the
options.
edge. Yeah,
that
it's
I can
always teetering
already
on the edge.
see somebody. I could see one CEO being like, we're just not doing as much as like it's not worth it. Like we could sell our IP, we could sell our properties. And then if you were to cut that revenue in half, it's like if you cut Xbox's revenue in half of their digital stuff. And I asked Jeff, and Jeff's response to me was, Epic is just arguing that this is an Apple-only thing.
Right.
Because it's mobile, and their market's so big. He said, but it would definitely probably be tried. Like somebody would take this outcome
and go to the other space.
Try to go the other space and do it. And he said, and if they won, then changes would have to be made.
Then something could change.
Games go up.
Games go up and
go up.
And hardware
goes up. Guess what? Hardware doesn't just go up. It stays up.
Over time. And you don't get those discounts over time. Sure.
And one of the points that Dev was making, he was like, well, I buy at launch anyway, so I don't get a discount. It's like, but you're getting a discount at launch. They're selling the launch console as cheap as possible because of this. Could you imagine if the PS5 was $699 or $799?
I truly think we have been $599 US. I bought a PS3 at that price. I think we have been teetering at the edge of a shift in.
And this would set it over.
Yeah, well, this would definitely send it over. I think we have been dancing on the edge of $60 video games, everything else aside, for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is becoming, as Sony has shown with the PS5, an inflection point at which it either has to start to change. And Sony has chosen to change it by pushing the price of games up. Microsoft is choosing to change it with a services situation. I think that this would shove it over the edge, and I just think everything would get more expensive.
And
That's
I
what
do
would happen.
say, and I'm 100%. If you're okay with that, if you're like that's better, okay.
I don't
I'm
know that I
fine
would
with
argue
that.
better.
I just want people to know that. That's all. That's my only stake in the game is like know what you're saying before you're like free Fortnite. It's like just be aware of what that means.
People, please, they've made $9 billion on this video game.
It's not fair, Elaine. They need more.
I need you to hear that number. Like, I need you to understand. And people sneer at that game still. $9 billion.
But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
they really are in public perception with their marketing.
Oh, the good guy.
Yeah, exactly. We're taking on the man. It's like you are the man.
You're the man.
Both the man.
I don't know how else to say this. It's like two men fighting, like by slowly paper cutting each other with Post-it notes. That's what this court thing looks like.
Now, I do prefer. I would prefer, if given the option, I'd prefer things stay the way they are.
Well, because nobody
just pay the 30 cents. You're making them plenty of money.
Here's the thing: the human condition, as people, as evolved animals, is we don't like change, and we see change as a negative thing. I'm
scared of the unknown.
You're right, because you're people. That's how people operate. Most people.
Maybe it's better.
One could make an argument that maybe the industry does need to be turned on its head.
Yeah.
A counter argument.
Could it be better?
One could make that argument.
Publishers have more money. Maybe they make more games.
I don't think the word you're looking for is better. I think the word you're looking for is different. I don't know that it immediately would be better.
I like it the way it is. I don't want
Donnie
that
likes
difference.
things not to change.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want a $499 Switch.
I mean,
just
I think
so Epic gets 15% more.
I think that might be exacerbating things a little bit.
I mean, I'm only using the example to make a point.
I know. I would say what we would see is something more like 10%, 15% increase.
Maybe it's $50 more.
That's what
I do think that would stay that way too, though. Unlike hardware dropping in price every 2 years or something like that, it's just going to stay there.
I don't necessarily think it'll stay quite as elevated. I just don't think it'll drop as quickly. But we're also dealing with a weird situation of chip shortages, extended shipping and wait times, manufacturing issues. Like COVID has created a problem that is counterbalancing this argument in a weird way for me to do that kind of spreadsheet math, Mm-hmm. So I don't know, when things were normal, quote unquote, would we be having a different conversation? Because usually consoles come down because it costs less to make them. Real quick.
Yeah.
Real
quick. I do like, getting back to the Xbox wagon. I do love what they're doing with xCloud and the Game Pass and the streaming.
Yeah.
The judge is like, wait a minute. Apple,
Explain
you want them
to
to make them load every game individually? It's a subscription. And they're like, but this is how it is. We're like, but it's not for Netflix. And Apple's like, but that's movies. And she's like, and?
I love when judges don't understand how technology works in the real world and they're confused by it, and someone has to draw pictures for them. Like, I love
really
it.
good.
It makes me so happy.
It's really good.
If you want to laugh, look up some of those transcripts,
By the way,
especially the one about Game Pass.
From what I've followed on this and the arguments I've seen made, the conjecture that I've seen, the commentary, not from journalists, but from like legal folks that have weighed in, I honestly don't think there's a chance in hell Epic wins this. Like, they really seem to be fighting upstream on this.
I have felt that way since this all started.
Really, really hard. Like, they're trying, but it's like, guys, you're kind of outgunned here.
I think they're just spending a lot of money
They
to
just
make
want to
a
make
ruckus.
a point.
Yeah, they want to make a ruckus, and I get it. And also, they've made so much money on this video game that they may as well just print themselves.
Did you see how much money they're losing in the Epic Game Store? It is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Video
game economics are so broken, y'all.
How much do these companies hate that all this dirty laundry is like out there?
That's the thing I was going to say. All of these like documents that are coming out and being redacted on the fly, the cross-play stuff with PlayStation.
Dude, PlayStation wants no business of cross-play at all.
They never have. That's clear. Like, I included this bullet in the notes here. There's quietly included in this are documents that reveal like exclusivity deals that Microsoft probably didn't want you to know about, including like a 3-month deal for Stalker 2, 6 months for all the updates to the connected version of Tetris Effect. Like, they don't want you to know that stuff quietly exists. They want to shove that under grandma's chair and set it all on fire.
It's so funny because I've brought this up before. I don't think the collective we as gamers, I feel like journalists have tried to point this out to us, but the collective we as gamers, we love these products so much that
Sure.
we can't detach our love of the product from the company that makes them. So that's where the whole tribalism comes from. We root
Absolutely.
for, it's like a team. We root for our team.
It's weird.
But they very specifically want that to happen. They care about that. They want that goodwill. They don't want you to know about the money that it takes to secure exclusive or for how long or these emails going back and forth. They don't want you to know this because that makes them look like what? A
Corporations that don't care about you.
Not the friendly game company that makes the things you like. And it's so funny because when you see them trot out a developer and they have a little show or they do a little thing and it's all like, yeah, it's kind of propaganda.
It's 100%. It's sales and marketing, y'all. Like, look.
Shh, gamer. Just keep paying.
Just look at it. Touch it. All video game companies.
You like us, right? We're cool.
We're the cool kids. Hello, fellow youths. Like,
it's all of them.
And they're all like this. Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. They're all. Yep. Every time I see an E3 presentation, I'm like, stop talking to the cool kids. Calm yourself. But they are, and they're exacerbating this console wars type of situation because it generates them sales.
Exactly. They feed it.
Like, and this point was just made in the chat, and I just want to make it out loud. No company that sells you a product is your friend. Just shut up. That's why I keep saying shut up and play video games on the product.
Part with your hard-earned money for us. Thank you.
And that's why having your Twitter battles about this is so absurd. Like, you're giving them free marketing on your Twitter. Just shut up and play a video game. Close the internet.
And you see it like when these documents got put up because they weren't supposed to be. When they got put up publicly when the redactions and the seal mode happened immediately. They're like, we've got to stop this as soon as possible.
I can see so many corporate execs literally with their pants on fire calling their lawyer, and their lawyers were like, cha-ching. like, pay me a 15-minute, 6-minute increments probably for that.
Rebecca,
I got a highlighter.
Parasocial relationship with Disney.
I hate that one too. They're companies. Stop buying freaking mouse ears. What are you doing?
And it's
people?
love it, but
don't
your love for the product doesn't have to mean that you buy and accept and adopt every single thing that the corporation wants you to have.
Or better yet, you can do that, but stop fighting for that company yourself. That doesn't make any sense. Let them do that. They don't need you to. They have marketing. They pay people. You're doing it for free. Stop that. Yeah. That's why when I say shut up and play the video games, like, buy the console you want to play the games on, not because you want to wave your internet parts around, but because you want to play the video games.
And not because and ultimately not because you think who won. Because it's really irrelevant. Doesn't matter.
Or you're on the cool team. Like, just it's not kickball. Buy the video game. Buy the video game and play all the time that you spend arguing on the internet, and we're doing it because we love to do it. It's not kickball. You're not picking sides. It's not kickball. It's video games. It's God. Like, come on. I'm over it. I'm very uppity about this. All right. So we have one more.
I haven't followed this as much as I wanted to, but I gotta say, I love that it's happened. I do feel like there's from the little bit of Twitter and the little headlines that I saw, it feels like there's almost an awakening moment happening.
I hope so.
With this stuff.
I kind of hope so, because I'm already so over it that I'm just like, oh my God, why is it taking everyone else so long to realize it's just two big dudes fighting with paper cuts? But it's interesting, and it is funny to listen to video game companies explain this stuff to judges.
Dude, they're so petty. I read the email from Tim Sweeney to PlayStation. That is the pettiest email I've ever seen.
If you think that corporations are run by grown adults, they are not. They're run by big kids.
I saw an email from Phil, and that was pretty.
He writes a good email, but
he does.
He's still petty.
Got corporate speak down. You've mentioned this a bunch. He's got it, and he's got the coolness appearance, and
hello, fellow youths.
It works.
He is slick in a way that almost makes me distrustful. Yeah, right at the border, and he pulls it back.
When
all
you
the
see
time.
That email, when I read that email, I was like, oh, he's good.
He's a well-trained corporate machine.
Lawyer good.
Look, here's the thing. He might be a Terminator. I said it here first. I'm just going to say he might be a Terminator. He's a little too perfect. So if he gets his face ripped off at E3 and there's Terminator under there, I called it.
It's so funny because he's all like, I'm playing this indie game and everything. And then he pens this email.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, he takes his face off at night. Terminator. Just throw it. I love Phil, but I feel like he's too good. All right, we got one more news story, and it's about Age of Empires. It's about a lot of things, right?
Yeah, PC.
This was the PC story. We brought it up. The gist here is they did that change in revenue split on their PC side.
Yeah.
Age of Empires 4 is still coming out this year. Woo! I'm excited about that. They reiterated that Halo Infinite's going to support multiplayer crossplay and progression between Windows and Xbox.
Yep.
When it launches. Good. It's 2021. You have two services that should be interconnected. Don't play games with my heart here.
We're going to talk about that.
Right? You know? And that, I love this. Microsoft notes that Halo Infinite will be a, quote, premier PC experience. Which, I don't know that this makes it premier. I think this just makes it fitting with the modern times. Including out-of-the-box support for ultra-wide displays, triple keybinds, and a wide variety of advanced graphics options. It's a PC game. That's just how you do that now.
Let me ask you this, because you play the PC. Does any of this make you want to play it on PC versus your console?
Ultra-wide support does. I have an ultra-wide monitor. Yeah. And I really like playing games ultra-wide when they're supported.
Mission accomplished. I played Ori in ultra-wide versus playing on my TV. Ori in ultra-wide's pretty amazing. Every time a game supports Assassin's Creed Odyssey supported ultra-wide, and I played it on PC, and I was like, yeah, buddy. It was pretty. I liked being able to see more of the area in Ori. I thought that was like almost like an advantage.
Forza Horizon 4 also supports my ultra-wide monitor. That is a bomb-ass PC game. That's especially cool if you have a wheel in front of you.
You'd be playing...
Like a nerd.
Oh, you know what? You just jogged my memory. God, this is going to be a long episode.
Oh, well.
Elaine,
suck it up, kids.
In the year of COVID, I have been developing a liking to Formula One.
Oh, no. Who got you? Wait, did Phil get you?
It happened the year before last. I was listening to The Ring. I love The Ringer, the podcast network.
Yeah.
And one of their guys, I think, I want to go back and find it because I've been asked this question a couple times lately. I think it was the Ford versus Ferrari review, or they were at least talking about the movie on one of the podcasts with Bill. And one of their guys, Kevin, who's a regular on the network, was talking about how much he loves Formula One, and he's like talking about this Netflix series.
Yes.
So I started getting into the Netflix series.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
Yes, that Netflix series, a coworker of mine turned me on to that series.
It is incredible television and incredible drama with all the sports, and they shoot the sport so well. And I've started watching the races, and I started reaching out to Seth, and I started like getting into it. I tried to play Formula One.
Which game did you attempt to?
Wheel, the one that's on Game Pass.
That's
Formula
the F1
2019.
19, so not 2020, 2019.
Elaine, it's really hard.
It's hard, dude, right?
It's so damn hard.
So,
I turned it on easy mode, and I was like, this is too hard.
Let me tell you, I played that on PC a little bit with a wheel that has the Force, because I have a Logitech G-Series wheel.
Before I played it, I was like, maybe I like it. Maybe I'll get a wheel.
No. So I'm going to tell you all right now, never buy a racing wheel. It's never a good investment. Every game is harder with a racing wheel than it is on a controller.
You see these racers, and they've all got it at home, and they're all playing, and they're just like hitting the shifter, and they're going, and I'm like,
don't they make it look cool?
Fun. Yeah,
they make it look cool.
It looks fun. I want to do that. Cool. I can't even play it with a controller on easy.
I slam into the walls.
It had automatic brake on, and I couldn't do it.
The only game I can play with the wheel successfully is Truck Simulator. Because it's slow.
So bad at games. I was like, I can only do Mario Kart.
F1 is hard. Dude, Forza's hard.
I now want F1 cars in Mario Kart.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like kart, like F1 kart racer?
Like a Mercedes team. I want a Ferrari build. Like I want it all in Mario Kart.
I love that you went down this rabbit hole.
I went Mario like in the jumpsuit.
In the jumpsuit with the helmet.
Yeah, with the branding and everything. Yeah.
That sounds good.
It's freaking awesome.
I might be able to play that video game. I'm so bad at F1.
Oh God, it's so hard, Elaine. I'm glad you said that because I would have totally forgot about it. I played it for like 2 hours and uninstalled it.
I'm also really bad at regular Forza Motorsport for so many of the same reasons. I just want to feel cool with the wheel, and I'm just not.
They have a new one coming out, and I was like, maybe I'll buy the new one. It's like, I can't.
Yeah, 2021 will be out soon.
I'm so terrible.
It's bad. It's hard.
I want to get good at it. Like, I kind of want to keep trying.
And reinstall it. Make it Stockholm Syndrome-y. Like, sit there until you're good.
Maybe.
I did this with Gran Turismo. I just beat my head against it until I understood how to
I might get the new one, or maybe I can get Kevin to get a review copy. Maybe I'll get the new one, and I'll just keep trying.
Just never give up.
I felt
Until
like I
all
had to
the-
stop to make a turn. Like I had to just come to a screeching halt. I'm hitting like the e-brake to turn.
I wish they had an attachment for the wheel that let me pop the e-brake like I was in Fast and the Furious. I would totally drift everywhere. It would be great. I don't know how to drift in real life.
Folks,
people.
you gotta watch the show. The show's amazing.
Show's good. Show is very good. I think that about wraps up. Oh, there's one more little note here, but they've been doing this for a minute. Microsoft has said that leading device partners will bundle Game Pass in with their devices. Razer does this already.
That makes a ton of sense.
Asus, MSI, they all do this. You get 3 months free.
Yeah, and this is probably Xbox just giving away for free.
They don't care.
Yeah, they're
Get
like,
hooked,
just
dog.
Put this insert in your box.
It feels like the first hit is free every time I open a device, and it's in there looking at me like, hello.
100%.
All right. Last but not least, before we get to a couple questions, Game Pass updates for May. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is hitting as of yesterday, I think.
The fourth be with you.
FIFA 21 via EA Play. Outlast 2, May 6th. Steep, May 6th.
Completely forgot all about that game until now.
Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD Remaster hitting on the 13th. That one's a relatively big deal to people who love those video games. Just Cause 4, Reloaded, May 13th. Psychonauts,
The original.
the original is coming the 13th, which probably foreshadows that 2 will drop into Game Pass.
So 2, they put up the
It's
store
up on the
page
store.
for today, and you can download.
You can preload that game.
Maybe it comes before E3.
It might, and it will come right into Game Pass.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no way it won't.
Isn't it coming to like PlayStation and like it's coming everywhere, isn't it?
Doesn't Microsoft own Double Fine?
They do, but I think this deal because I think Psychonauts 2 was like kickstarted.
Oh,
Like
you might be
originally.
right. You
Yeah.
might be right about that. I mean, yes, but you're only going to get it on Game Pass in one place.
I don't think it's going
right?
to move enough copies to even matter.
I don't
Like
think so.
if I were Xbox, I'd put it wherever I can get copies sold.
That's the smart thing to do.
Yeah,
It's a weird
Psychonauts.
cult classic video game. It really is.
Kevin was explaining. I never played the original, but Kevin was explaining to me it's like an indie game. That's what
It
he
was. It felt that way. It's
Okay.
good. It's just that it's not. It's a cult classic. It's definitely got that like the people who really love it, and everybody else is like, what?
said. Is there a
that's the-
platformer that it's like that you can like comp it to? It's a platformer.
Not-
Is it a 3D platformer?
Yeah, it's a platformer in 3D. Yeah,
It's like Crash.
maybe. It's
Like a
kind of hard.
Spyro?
It's been a long time since I touched it. I don't remember it being very tightly controlled. It really leans into its weird to draw you.
Oh, I
in.
definitely saw like the acid trip
Yeah.
backgrounds. And
Oh
everything.
boy,
It's
buddy, that
definitely
whole
kinda-
thing is. I mean, it's predicated upon the idea you're inside other people's brains, kind of. So
That's cool.
it's cool, you know.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it's all the fuss is about.
Red Dead Online May 13, Knockout City via EA Play on the 21st, and again,
Yep.
Microsoft is partnering with Spotify to give you that premium if you got the Game Pass. And leaving Game Pass, Alan Wake is leaving on the 15th. If you haven't played it yet, please play that video game.
Yeah.
You can also get it for super cheap everywhere. Dungeon of the Endless, which I have not heard of, and Final Fantasy 9. Boom. Game Pass is still good yet, y'all.
That's a lot of good
Game
games.
Pass podcast.
Just added
Play
a bunch
video
in.
games.
That was one of the things that I missed. Like when I opened the notes, I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
Game Pass got more games."
yeah.
Fantastic.
See,
I'll
Elaine
be
did her
playing
job. and
Resident
put-
Evil. I won't be playing any of these.
I'm gonna play
but
the crap out of Resident. Sorry, y'all. Game Pass, don't call me. I'm putting you
It's like
on
they
mute.
should have. Yeah, they should have held off on some of these. Maybe.
I need a little. They don't care about Resident Evil. They just do what they do with Game Pass. I just need a little GIF of me swiping ignore call from Game Pass when Resident
Nice.
Evil comes out. Sorry, y'all. But all right, Donnie. Any of these questions that we want to tackle before we get out of here? It's been a long episode, but we could do one.
Yeah, Todd wants to know any thoughts on why there are gaps on Xbox and PC Game Pass. Destiny 2 and Outriders on Xbox Game Pass, but they're still missing on PC Game Pass. I understand if it's not developed for the platform, like an RTS, but if it's developed for both, shouldn't it be on Game Pass Ultimate? Todd, the answer to your question, and I 100% agree with you, by the way, but the answer
agree
to
with
your
him.
question is 100% undoubtedly money. It is
Deals with
just-
Steam.
just money. It was not even just deals. It's like for a game like Square Enix with Outriders, you're eating into sales that could be done on Epic or Steam or GOG or anything like that, and that's completely different than the console business. And if you didn't agree with that, look
Yeah.
at some of these internal documents and see how much revenue some
true.
of these people are making. One of those things, the document, by the way, is showed just how big a gap there is between Sony and like Sony's making incredible bank.
Yeah.
Way more than everybody else. But yeah, this deal is not about, it's not about technical. It is literally just about money. That's all it is.
It would hamstring the sales that they get off of other places, and they literally sit down with their nice return on investment math man, or it would cost more.
So much more money for Xbox to bring into both.
It wouldn't be worth it. They ink these deals on a per game basis, and that's just kind of the way it works. And does it suck? Absolutely, it sucks. And it feels bad when you boot up Game Pass.
I have long said that I want Game Pass to be the same
on
everywhere
every
I sign into Game Pass.
But there's almost no way that happens as Steam and Epic stores.
Parties.
There's no way.
Because it's out of Xbox's control.
They
Everything
just can't...
in Xbox's control will be there.
And it is.
Yeah.
And the cross-save stuff works, which is awesome. I love pulling up Forza in either place.
Halo's going to be huge. If for nothing else, then it's day and date on PC.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's
servers
big for
are
Halo.
Totally not work the first week.
I don't think I mean...
And burn.
And the saves will be lost and it'll be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I think I just want that game to have a decent launch.
Just
after
be good.
all it's been through. Yeah,
I would love nothing more than everybody being like, 9 out of 10, Halo's awesome.
That's what I want to.
That'd be really great.
Am I convinced that's going to happen? Nah, I'm maybe 70-30 on that, 60-40.
I think we judge shooters harsher.
And Halo especially. It has a very special earmark for people's nostalgia.
I was bringing this up last year. Like, Call of Duty's campaign last year was excellent.
Oh, so good.
Really short, but excellent. Like worth its time. And I noticed that like we'll give an indie game, and like obviously this is why I hate reviews. This is my little soapbox. The reason I hate reviews is we'll give an indie game that like punches above its weight, like 9.3 out of 10. It's great. And then we'll give like Call of Duty like 7.6. It's not as good as it was last year. And it's like those review scores and just reviews in general don't make any sense. Like when you have them both side by side.
Let's just be clear. This problem exists in movies and movie reviews.
Oh, definitely.
And especially it's egregious in there because like a horror movie is always held up against a very different standard than your blockbuster Marvel movie, right? Like but I think I have mostly problems with the number scores. The text of a review, an objective opinion, I'm way into.
Absolutely. And
I don't like number scores.
I was focused on numbers, but I feel like shooters more often than not because I feel like there's so many of them, and often so many of them have a bigger budget. It's honestly like the expectation is just a little grander than they are for other series.
It can be.
Another game of a different genre might be given a little bit more, just a little bit more of a chance, a little more wiggle room. It
also depends on who's playing it, how fatigued they are by it's another Call of Duty.
Didn't Destiny have like awful reviews? Like when it dropped?
I think it was broken when it dropped, and that was problematic for their reviews.
That aside, but it's like when you look back on it now, 7 years removed, you're like, that was way off.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like you can read reviews and you see the Call of Duty fatigue, but then you read a new shooter review and it still gets held up against Call of Duty's. You know what I mean? It's weird. Yeah. That's why scores I'm always a little.
Yeah, and on it, to be fair, I'm not trying to say it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to point out that like in the shooter space, there feels like there might be a bar.
And there's a separate bar for Halo.
Yeah.
It is held up against the nostalgia of 1, 2, and 3.
Halo is better than Call of Duty and everything, like it's gonna get.
This is gonna be a whole thing. I hope you all have girded loins here because it's gonna be. Get ready to read some reviews that are nonsense. Like
I 100% believe, and I say believe. That's the right word. I believe that Halo could have like a Metacritic of 70, and I could also really enjoy it.
I 100% think that's possible and actually probable. I would argue probable. I would argue 70 to 80 in a Metacritic is very highly probable.
Yeah.
So just get ready. Any other questions we want to tackle before we get out of here? Let's go with Bowser's question. We're going to go back to this is okay.
The streaming? Oh no.
Yeah, we're going to do this because I just want to do this. We're just going to recheck in really briefly. I think it's an interesting way to phrase the question. Why did Xbox roll out this PC beta? We're talking xCloud on browser here, knowing it's such crap. Not my words. Okay. Why not wait until all the hardware had been upgraded, hopefully giving better results? It's not like they can sell Game Pass to people for the streaming part in this condition. I think the easy answer is the more people who touch a thing and try to break it, the more data you have to improve it faster. I just don't think they have any sort of This is beta for a reason. They have no confidence in this thing yet, and they want it strung at every edge they can find. And you know what I mean? Also, wait, what do they have to lose by rolling it out?
I like the second part. I mean, I don't disagree with the first part. I mean, having hands-on is good. I 100% believe the reason that they've entered the market as fast as they have, and I agree with Bowser. I think it's too soon. I think it's premature.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The reason that they've entered the market prematurely is because there were competitors entering the market.
Sure.
And typically in the tech scene, those who are first have a significant leg up on those who are last, even if those who are last are better.
Potentially.
So when you have Stadia and GeForce and Luna all doing a thing, like,
that's interesting.
Xbox has to be there. And I also think that the streaming, I mean, I don't think, we know. This isn't really actually an opinion. This is pretty factual. The streaming was used as a carrot to dangle to raise the price.
Fair. Yes.
And I think that's really the reason why they entered so early. But the reason that they pushed the streaming when they did was because they didn't want to not have an option to what they have actually went on record and said as their competitors of the future, Amazon and Google, not PlayStation, Nintendo.
Yeah. At least that's what they believe as of when they announced that. I don't know if they feel differently about it now. But I mean, I also don't think they had anything to lose by pushing something out, calling it beta, and having it not work well.
Yeah.
Like, just here it is. And for one or two people under certain conditions, it works the way that they're okay with, and that's great.
Hey,
for
Sean,
everybody else,
don't say.
Yeah. For everybody else, it's free beta testing for Microsoft to watch their servers take load, and make adjustments.
Yeah.
That's what it is, largely. There's no reason not to. They're not losing anything by doing it. You're right. They're not gaining customers.
A lot more from tech conglomerate Microsoft than what we got.
I don't disagree. I still don't have an invite. I'm still mad.
Are you still don't have one?
I am still mad.
You can just log in as my account. I'll send you
I don't want to do that. I want my invite. I want to have my weekly hissy fit. I know.
I've come to the resolution. I feel like this is more sad. With all of this, I don't want to hear about xCloud until it's ready anymore.
I don't disagree.
I'm kind of over it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear about it until you can do what Stadia did 2 years ago. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Sure.
So you're doing around 4K something, at least stable, like your frame rates, your audio is good. Like,
I'll take 1080p at 30 frames.
This feels like a project.
Persistent,
Yeah,
like
they don't even do that well.
Right, that's my point. I'll take the bare minimum, but
like even running off of like Xbox One S virtual blades, like that doesn't even work well. So it's I have very little faith that like it'll actually. Like I'm concerned to a point because it's like, how long is it going to take for them to deliver a console equivalent experience via this technology? And they don't feel close, but maybe they'll just turn it on one day and it'll work better. I don't know.
Or what if they don't actually care and they see the bottom falling out of that market and they're gonna give up on it eventually?
That's an interesting take. I definitely think streaming's the future.
It could be,
I believe
okay. The reason that I'm struggling with that is we still have a data cap and broadband issue, especially in the United States.
But internationally, that's not necessarily the truth. But it's honestly, it's not about, and you're 100% correct to bring that up. Most people do. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. It is a hindrance. It's a challenge. But here's the thing. All of the money is in the streaming. That's why I've always likened it to digital. It's just like the digital divide. When we went from physical to digital, now we look at all these earnings that are being released, and we've seen these companies 55, 60, 65, 70% sometimes digital earnings over physical copies. I'm not saying it'll replace what we have, but I'm saying there will be a time where the convenience and the cost push you to streaming. The reason is to control the cost and the production, and it doesn't just help the publisher. I think that's the thing. People are like, oh, Google's bad. It's not the publisher, it's the developer. Because they're controlling the price of their product. They're controlling it off the used market, off secondhand market. They're controlling deals that they can make with that property. That property can go into something like Game Pass. They can take it away and then take it to Luna and get another deal. Like, they have all the control. And with that having so much upside, it's an inevitability that when the tech catches up to it, that will be the push forward.
I do. And I think that the thing we all have to remember as we look at services like Stadia and Luna and xCloud not performing to the expectation that we have in our head for what they should perform to, think about how long it took us to get to this digital place with media.
Yeah.
Think about how long the transition
And there's still
time
people
has
that
been.
are holding on to that box.
And there are still data caps that cause people problems to not make them want to do that. There's lots of conversation there. This is going to be a long tail.
Yep.
So when you look at a product that isn't working the way you want it to now, I think you need to settle in for a bit because it's going to be a while. We're going to see a lot of iterations. We're going to see a lot of change. And really using a beta at this point is you getting to see the tech start and evolve. That's the way you need to think about it.
We use this comparison all the time, maybe too much, but I mean, Netflix.
Sure. It took it a long time.
Discs and you got them in the mail, and I remember the little things. And you rip
I
it
used
out,
to do
you
it with
put
the
disc
red.
back in, you steal it, you put it back in, right? Then they had the streaming. I remember you had to get a disc to stream.
To stream on the I had one for the PS3 and the Wii maybe also. Yeah. This is going to be a long ass tail, and I think people.
But we say long. Like that was forever ago. It's in the world of technology. We're talking 10 years. We went from there to the new thing.
But we're talking
That's
about
not really that long. I think some people think streaming is like a 2050 thing. Like it's not.
No. I think when I say settle in, I mean 5 to 10 years though. I don't think I mean like next calendar year. Like there's a lot of boundaries that we have to jump across first, and problems.
All we've proven right now is that the tech isn't quite there yet. It's almost there. It's comparable. In the best scenarios, it's comparable. Like Stadia is comparable to a console. I know gamers don't want to hear it, but if you've played it, like it's comparable to a console.
It 100% can be, and if you don't have a data cap issue, it exists as an option, but we still have a large portion of the world that is suffering under that condition, or even doesn't have broadband. So,
and the data cap issue isn't even just relegated to gaming. That's as the world moves more and online, and entertainment's online, and videos online, and like that will solve itself in time.
I 100% agree, but it's going to take cycles of technology, and this will too. So if you're like looking at xCloud, like, why are you so broken? My challenge to you is, if you're already a Game Pass subscriber and you don't need this service for any reason, look at it as I'm kind of getting a foot in the door of what things are going to evolve from.
They're just getting people used to it.
And just you get to see something new grow. That's the way I like to see it. I'm already using Game Pass.
When they let us play games on our console streaming without having to download, like a patch or something.
That would be huge.
That'll be the Trojan horse that gets people used to it. Right, just like the exclusive digital games of the free digital game, they got people kind of adopting the digital thing. They'll dip your toe into it, and they'll coax you into it, and before long, you'll be doing it without even realizing you're doing it.
I think that I think that it will slowly start to ingrain itself into you. But I think for those of us now who have Game Pass, who have invites, and you get to play with it, for me, tech stuff like this is like I'm getting to see this at day one. It's kind of like being the generation of people who had the first cell phones that were like readily accessible, and getting to see how they've evolved into this monster that I hold in my hand. It's cool from that point of view to me, and I realize I'm an engineer and we just love that crap. But look at your xCloud brokenness and then watch over time, and you'll have these snapshots of how that technology, and someday you'll be like, to your grandkids, you'll be like, I remember when it was crap. And it'll be fun. You
definitely see the progression. And when we get that E3 where they're like, today we flipped the switch on xCloud, now everything is Series X worthy, like you'll have that comparison to me.
Yeah. And you can sit there and go, wow, boy, it really did run like crap in the beginning. I'm glad they got it together, Or the bottom falls out of all this and it changes. Who knows? So
I mean, and we've said it before, so just not to beat the dead horse again, but the leg up that Microsoft has is that it's an accessory.
Exactly.
It's not the thing. Like it's just an accessory to Game Pass.
And it lives with a library built in that they don't have to fight for or develop.
So we don't have to really even judge it right now. Like I've said my things about it, and that's just me giving you my honest feedback. But like, does it bother me that it's not good? To be honest with you, no.
It shouldn't.
Like not really, because
it shouldn't.
Even if it was, here's the thing: even if it was optimal and it was running great, like if it was running as good as Stadia, guess what? Probably still wouldn't use it a whole lot. I don't ever find myself in a scenario where I don't have my Switch. We've talked about this. It's optional. It's just a cool thing for me to watch evolve, and I get it free with my subscription. That's the thing that separates it from Luna and separates it from Stadia and separates it from GeForce. That's the thing that makes it, it's optional. You don't have to do it at all. It's also what doesn't make me feel bad when it doesn't work great. It's like I'm already using the service, and I get to see this thing evolve. It's like
it's like a free window into tech that I get to watch change.
Yeah.
That's all it is to me.
Like
a
early
Netflix
preview,
documentary.
early access.
Yeah. It's like the documentary of the service life.
It doesn't adversely impact. It doesn't negatively affect the value of the service. The service is worth it, regardless. Like you could remove it, and I'd still pay $15.
I don't.
You could just take it away. They'd be like, "Look, we're just not going to do this anymore." We're like, great.
To me, it doesn't exist, and I still like the service. So,
like if Phil was to come out at E3 and be like, "Look,
take off his face, be a Terminator."
Nice. There you go. So he does that, and he's like, "Look, streaming sucks. We're not going to do it anymore. So instead of streaming, we're just going to add one more game in the Game Pass a year." But like, fantastic.
Fine. Great. Cool. You know what I mean?
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
and
Phil.
that's if you're a Game Pass subscriber, that's 100% a way to look at it, and you're good, and we move forward. So
yeah,
you know.
And for everybody arguing those markets out there, that there are markets that exist where consoles are hard to come by. Like I realize that like Japan's very phone heavy, India's very phone heavy. It's not like those devices. Like in all seriousness, the Xbox Series S is a still comparable device you can get usually for less than $200, and it has access to Game Pass, the majority of Game Pass games. And like as this generation rolls out, those devices will get cheaper. And if Microsoft was to ever do an Apple TV, some sort of thing, that if they would ever do like a hybrid, like something that you can download to some stuff, but also play cloud stuff that you can't download, they could even bridge that gap for much, much cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if they came out with a little box you plug in like a little Roku, and it's like, hey, you can download Psychonauts 2 on this and play it locally. Or you can stream Halo Infinite. That works.
I hope that over time we get there. And I think that 100% if you're a Game Pass subscriber, the way to look at it is you get to watch them go forward from where we're at now. Just look at it as an extra, and it's okay. I mean, do I want it to work?
Yes. Step that way in that direction.
It is the cheap little friend.
Speaking of the Series S, did you see the Mass Effect stuff?
No.
So Mass Effect put out their performance stuff.
Yeah, I did see some of that, but I didn't actually dig into the numbers because I have to get to Resident Evil first.
And I'm making this the comparison for anybody out there that bought a Series S. You should be excited about this because PlayStation 5 and Mass Effect Legendary Edition, is that out this weekend?
Next Friday.
So PlayStation 5 in quality mode can run the game at 60 FPS and 4K.
Yay.
In frame rate mode, it can run it at 60 FPS, 1440p.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to make any sense because it's the same thing. But I'm looking at the
maybe
graphic,
one is locked. One is probably locked, and one is probably not. That's 100% the only way that makes sense.
Quality mode on Series S, 4K 30.
Yeah.
4K 30.
It's a small little device, y'all. It's so tiny.
4K 30. Remember, it was all like, like it can only do 1080p and all that. 4K 30.
No, it can. Can you also run it at 1080?
Frame rate 60 1440p.
That's not bad. That's pretty good.
That
little box is such a sexy little number. Like it can really do some things.
Yeah.
And it's like I own copies of Dune that are larger than that box.
So on Series X, 4K or 60, 4K, 4K 60, or
beefy boy.
120 1440.
That's fascinating. I'm very excited about this video game, y'all.
I want to boost it up a little, but I saw the graphic, and they've got PlayStation 4 stuff and Xbox One stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be out on everything.
The Series S basically
it can hang
on par with PlayStation 5.
Now that's not a locked 60 more than likely, but it can hang.
Still,
it's going to hang, and
ballpark.
that little box, yeah.
That's pretty,
$300. That's
pretty
crazy.
Impressive. It's pretty impressive. And remember we made fun of the Series S and Kevin and everything. It's like
I love it.
Mass Effect making me eat my words.
I really think that little box is a great companion console.
Yeah,
it sits in the same spot as the Switch. If you want a Game Pass box and you don't want to invest in the big beefy boy, do the S. And I own books that are larger than this thing. Legit, I own books. I'm reading a book that is larger than this box right now. So, all right, I think that is going to do it for us this week because the horses have been beaten, the Terminators have been unveiled. The frames have been boosted. This was a hell of a podcast, Donnie.
Yeah, beefy podcast. I feel like I said
beefy boy.
Didn't podcast for a while, so I came
in hot.
Yeah, fresh, ready to go.
All right. I'm going to read our Patreon producers, our on-air level producers. Thank you to everybody who supports the show, both with your monies and with your not monies and just your verbal support and your tweets. If you want to find us on the internet, I am ET Dragon on Twitter, where I tweet way too much. And Donnie is Eat the Hype. We're fun. We're interactive. We'll talk back to you. Don't worry. Just don't be a jerk. Everything will be fine.
Get ready for E3. And before you do this, we're the last week that the Prime feed is up.
All right. Yep. So we have the master feed.
I got to start tweeting about that because I realized we're shutting that down soon.
Yep. So the master feed is going away on the 10th. That's usually where all podcasts are collected. So go and subscribe to your individual PSVG casts on their individual feeds before the 10th. Hold on to your butts. Let's do this. Another great show. It was a great show. It was a great show. All right, here we go. Patreon producers: Michael Masick, Barry Cathcart, Edwin Callow, Stephen Keller, Nick Creature, Rudays93, Ben Moxham, Robbie Manuel, Nick Fallhaber, Paul Calicote, Kyle Heyman, Grouchy Surge, Devin Tyus, Josh Bourbon, RJ Kern, Horse Girl 69, and Zachary Adams. Nailed it. Flexing on it. All right, kids. I think that's going to do it for us this week, right, Donnie?
That's it.
Until next week, play some video games, y'all.
Peace, folks.